Thanks, Joseph, for that beautiful backgrounder. We have our guests with us here in the studio, and we'll just quickly introduce them. Of course, gender-based violence, so all our guests are women, as expected.
We should have, interject with the male. But
you are here.
Yeah.
You are here, Ademola, so of course you can
So
speak for the men.
Represent them,
yes,
right?
you represent the men.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a pleasure and a great delight to have with us the DG Mariam Babangida Center for Women Development, Asabe Velita Bashir. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good
Also, a
morning.
one-time member of the House of Representatives.
Yes, thank you.
Good to have you.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, we have also have with us Professor Naomi John Daddy Mahmood, Director, Center for Gender Affairs, IBB University, Niger State. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. And also here with us in the studio is Grace Pam. She is the Director, Women and Children Department, National Human Rights Commission. You are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. And joining us via Zoom from Asaba, Delta State is Professor Hawawu Evelyn Yusuf, Special Advisor to the Vice Chancellor, Porn Research Culture, Kaduna State University, and CEO, Center for Study and Resolution of Domestic Violence. Nice to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good. Now let's kickstart our conversation this morning, and I want Professor Naomi to start with this. Let's look at what the significance and the impact of this annual international campaign of ending gender-based violence. How significant is it?
Good morning again. When something becomes continuous, when you do something and you repeat it, that means result will come. So when we say it's annual, that means it's every year.
Yes.
So if every year somebody is reminded of what is wrong, on what he or she is doing, the consciousness of that person will be raised. So awareness is basically through either once or twice or thrice of telling somebody that what you are doing is wrong, especially now that we are talking about gender violence. If every year, if you have not had last year, you will hear it this year. So there will be no excuse that I have not had. But if we skip it, that means people can have excuse, because if you have not had it last year and you have not had it this year, it will be a problem. But if somebody tell you and it repeat, that means it is a serious issue. You only repeat or you emphasized on what is serious. So for you to do it last year and do it this year and maybe do it next year, that means it's a serious issue, and it's a way of like emphasizing that this thing we are doing is not a joke. This is a serious matter and we really, really want to work on it. And this one will make even those that don't know, that there's something, because you will be surprised that some don't even know what is gender violence. You understand? So you have to make it continuously and mark it with different activities, telling the world, telling the people, raising the consciousness of every man, every woman, that what you are doing to your opposite, either female, opposite gender, either male or female, is something that is not good.
But is it, Prof, a lot of people have complained that the knowledge is not widespread, especially in the rural areas, that is the communities. And we just talk about it here in the cities and probably in the state capitals and all that. But the people in the rural areas who are majorly the victims of this violence, how do you reach out to them? What can be done? I mean, in what way? Because if it's annual, it's an annual event, that just like you said, and you are not reaching out to the grassroots, what impact will that have?
What we should know is that every stakeholder must be taken. The first thing is even the parent. If parents train children well, if religious leaders tell everybody the right thing to do, if traditional rulers tell everyone the right thing to do, there will not even be issue of gender violence. So if we do it every year, we can as well take it to the nook and cranny of every other aspect. In Nigeria, we have local government. In Nigeria, we have village head. So if all stakeholders are taken, if we are doing it in the city, I will mainstream it to the states, to local government. Like Niger State, I know they observe it too. So from there, we can take it to local government. We involve the chairman, we involve women leaders, even political parties, religious leaders. We can go to churches, we can go to mosques, we can go to even school. We can even make it part of curriculum as a subject.
Okay. Beautiful. Thanks, Professor Naomi. Of course, I know that, when you talk about this violence, I know that there are some schools who have taken it upon themselves, to educate, their students on what it's about, and so they can speak out and report. Even in churches, I hear that they incorporate it into their children department, what they get to teach the children, in some religious gatherings. But I want to quickly get to Asabe Velita Bashir now. Professor talked about the fact that some people don't even know what gender-based violence is. So I would like you to please break it down for us now. What really is gender-based violence for somebody who is just hearing about it for the first time? And then why 16 days? I'm asking because there's a statistics that says 1 in 3 Nigerian women have experienced physical violence by the age of 15. That's just physical violence. When you talk about sexual violence, the number is also different. So it means that almost every Nigerian woman has experienced violence one way or another. So this is a big issue, and like Prof said, it's a serious issue. Why 16 days? I mean, for Nigeria, maybe we should make it a daily affair. So just first and foremost, tell us what gender-based violence is, and then what, again, you are doing, because I know you're the DG of the Center for Women Development.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. First of all, the gender-based violence is an act of violence against persons based on gender. And there are so many forms of violence. Like we said, there's physical violence, psychological violence, sexual violence, socio-economic violence, so many forms of violence. Anything that will be harmful to a person, psychologically or physically, is said to be violence, and especially when it is based on the gender of the person. And the violence can be both, the gender can be both, the victims can be both women, either men or women, that is girls or boys. But most of the time, the victims are mostly women because of their vulnerability and their, in our society, women are seen to be, they are women. They are being relegated as second-class citizens, and they are being regarded as properties of the men. And socio-economically, women are seen to be less economically powerful than the men. So we tend to have more victims among the women and girls. With regards to what we do at the center, Maring Babangida National Center, the act of establishing the center, our main mandate is just based on anything that has to do with women. Mostly, we go in anything that will empower the woman is our main mandate. We empower women financially, economically, morally, we do anything that will improve the lot of the woman. And we go into research on issues that affect women. If we don't blow out, nobody will do it for us. So hence the creation or the establishment of that institution. Anything at all, be it research, we document issues on women, like this, the topic today, gender-based violence. We document those that have been victimized so as to provide solutions to solving the problems ahead. And we do a lot of training, because basically some of the causes of this gender-based violence mostly has to do with economical economical status of women, because women are not empowered. We rely mostly on the men for economic empowerment. So at that level, we now dust into the hands of the men. So we do a lot of training for our men to make them self-reliant and to be very supportive to their families, so that there will not be crisis at all at the family level. So these are some of the things we do at the center. We make sure that the woman is empowered, because that's the basic line where men and women normally have disagreement. And we teach our girls to we teach our girls so many skills, because not every girl has the opportunity to reach the peak of her career or education. So we teach them skills. Those that fall apart, maybe due to one reason or the other, you are not able to further your education. We make sure that we give you the second line of another option to better your life by teaching you skills, so that you can catch up with life and be a burden on society or a burden on your family.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam, for giving us an insight into what you do, especially in that center. We still have Grace. Let me bring you into the discussion. I want you to expatiate more on the role, on this education, because it's very vital when we talk about this fight against this gender violence, because people need to be educated, especially at the grassroots. People have complained that insufficient inclusion of comprehensive and age-appropriate gender-based violence. How can we incorporate gender-based violence prevention into school curriculum? She said something like that. So how do we go about that? How can we incorporate gender-based violence into school curriculum? And what role can educators and parents play in the fight against this gender-based violence?
Okay. Thank you for that question. I think a lot of campaign has been going on, and it's like a daily campaign. Not really, we don't wait until 16 days of activism, to educate or enlighten the public about issues of gender-based violence. So when she was asking the question about why do we wait till 16 days, we don't really wait till 16 days. The campaign is on every day. For us, like at the Human Rights Commission, we have a department that is dedicated, to handling issues of women and children, violations against women and children. And so we do daily campaign. We receive daily complaints on issues to do with women and children. And during the 16 days of activism is like the highlights, of the whole campaign that has been going on every day. It's a highlight. And what we do is we have states, where offices in 36 states of the Federation. And in Abuja, we have a metropolitan office, which is at Karu. And then we have the main at the headquarters. And this 16 days of activism is like a carnival kind of campaign for us in the rural areas. We go into the communities. We meet with community leaders, we meet with youth leaders, we meet with religious leaders, we go to chief judges of the high courts in every state, we go to the police stations, just to get every stakeholder, into this campaign, to key into the campaign and ensure that it's a holistic thing. We go to the governors, we go to the governors' wives, and from the rural communities up to the level of this of the governor, by the time we finish doing the campaign in these 16 days, we have a communique at the end of the day which we present to the governors of each state to let them know what is going on, concerning issues of gender-based violence in your state and what you can do about it as the governor of the state. We go to the national assemblies to also campaign that the right laws should be made, to ensure that we stamp out gender-based violence in Nigeria. So there are a lot of campaigns going on.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are also proposing that, and we also go to schools every month at the National Human Rights Commission, all over the Federation, we choose particular schools. We go to the schools and we educate the children, you know, from primary school to the secondary schools. We want to catch them young, start imbibing that culture in them. Culture of respect for human rights in the first place, and then, you know, culture for respect for other genders. So we do that every month. We go to schools and do campaign. But that is just one institution.
But besides you going to school, what role should the educators be doing?
Of course, when we go there, we don't talk to just the students. We talk to the educators as well. This is what you should be doing and what to observe, you know, amongst the students as well. Educators look out for signs of violations. If you see this sign, be sure to probe more into it to find out what is happening to this child. A child probably is being sexually molested in school. The child that is very brilliant, suddenly the child is withdrawn. The child is not doing as well in school anymore. The teacher should be curious. The educator should be curious to know what is happening. There must be something happening to this child. And indeed, some cases, some complaints have come up like that it was from the teacher, that they knew something was happening with this girl. And then you begin to find out what the issue is. And at the end of the day, you find out that the girl is actually being violated. And then you take it up from there and seek redress on their behalf or prosecute.
Brilliant, I must say, Grace. It looks like the Human Rights Commission is doing a lot. Of course, talking about gender-based violence, of course, it's everywhere. We get to hear about it, you know, even in the media. But what is surprising for me is that despite the, you know, knowledge about it, it still persists. And, you know, it leads me to my next question. And I'd like Professor Hawa to please respond to this. Do you really think that gender-based violence can be eliminated? Looking at this year's topic, or rather this year's theme, unite, invest to prevent violence against women and girls. Who are those, you know, expected to unite in getting this out of our society?
Well, good morning once again. The call is actually for us to not just unite, but also to invest to bring an end to gender-based violence. And the purpose is that for everyone that has been working in silos, talking about this, going to communities and doing a lot of sensitization, you would there's a need for us to put our strengths together. And when we talk about investing, we're not just talking about investing money, we are talking about investing knowledge, investing time, and then putting in our voice. For me, I would say, when you see something, say something, do something. Don't just stop at saying something. Over the years, we have been saying a lot, but we have not been able to actually get to eradicating this. We would want the possibility of every human being, and now when I say every human being, it shouldn't be just a women's affair. It is supposed to be both men and women's agenda to put an end to violence against women and children. To say that we cannot eliminate it, what I would say is that nothing is impossible. And if that is the case, since violence is a self-infliction, since violence is most cases a voluntary act, people deliberately violate others to assert themselves or massage their ego, then if we continue to put concerted efforts together, bringing in all stakeholders, and then we can be able to eliminate this. When I say all stakeholders, just like the Human Commission said, the Human Rights Commission person said, there is a need for everybody, including traditional leaders, religious leaders, family heads, household heads, put in all their energy towards eliminating violence against women and the girl child. By the time you eliminate the violence against women and the girl child, you would even invariably reduce different forms of violence. Why the 16 days of activism is placed within a block of days. We do this every day, not just limited to the 16 days, but the 16 days of activism is in a block of days that have some significance. For instance, the 25th is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. By the 1st, it is the World AIDS Day. You know that a lot of violations or GBV has always informed people being infected with HIV. So this day is also in between. Then you have the last day, which is the 10th of December, the National Human Rights Day. So if you look at it, it is a deliberate attempt to increase the awareness that has been created from the 1st of January. So it's not just within the 16 days. And honestly, for us in Kaduna State, the talk about elimination of GBV is not just spoken in towns or in the cities. This year's 16 days of activism kickstarted in a rural community in Rigasa with the Honorable Commissioner of Human Services and Social Development kickstarting her own activity there. On the 25th, you see the Human Rights Commission, every organization in Kaduna State came together and we had a walk that was geared towards campaigning against GBV. So it can be eradicated, completely eradicated. Remember, GBV is not just about rape. Rape is just like sexual violence. You have psychological violence. You have emotional violence. You have economic violence. You have discrimination in terms of work and activity. So GBV is not just talking about women. It is not just talking about the girl child. It also has the component of different forms of violence that takes place. Like in the situation of war or banditry, the woman suffers the most. And perhaps the reason why people always think when you're talking about GBV, you're just talking about women who have been violated. No, for those of us who are passionate about this, you see us oranging the world because the color orange is bright and peaceful. So it gives that notion that we want to live in a peaceful society. And to live in a peaceful society, we have to put an end to discrimination, whether it's against the girl child or the boy child, or even against women. So the 16 days of activism is the height of our campaign against GBV. It's not that we only do it in 16 days and then we go to sleep. It's a continuous exercise. And it is not just an exercise for me as a woman, but an exercise for the whole society. You need to see our he for she's. You need to see them going out with us on the walk. If you check the Kaduna walk, the two walks that took place, 25th and 1st, you see a lot of women, a lot of men coming together to carry this campaign. So the campaign is not just a women thing. It is an inclusive journey. We don't want our boy children to be battered. We don't want our boy children to be molested. It's just that, well, as women, as mothers, we are in the forefront of this campaign.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Prof. Thank you very much, Prof, for giving us an insight into your efforts there, especially in Kaduna State. We'll get back to you in the course of this conversation, but let's come back to the studio, and I want to direct this question to Sam Pan once again. The issue of stigmatization and what is it called now? Victim blaming, you know, this stigma thing. Because of stigmatization, a lot of people that have been molested may not want to come out openly to talk about it. We had one case, sometimes last year, it was very, it was all over the media. This singer, a gospel singer, that was being, molested, violated by the husband and all that. Eventually, she died in silence, So how do we begin to, protect, this, educate, and what steps can be taken, to change societal attitudes towards people that have been violated?
I think we just have to keep talking to them. We just keep educating, especially the women, even men. Men. If you following the trend, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, Lagos also had reported cases of men violation against men, which was reported. Which hitherto we never heard of men reporting that they were being violated also. So women. It was like an issue of just women, only the female gender that was being
it's because they are more vulnerable anyway.
Yes,
that's why.
Yeah. So, but issues of men are also beginning to talk now. Probably before it was because of their ego and so on. But now, and then we're beginning to hear such things. So it's just education, and education. We have to keep appealing to our women not just the victim or the survivor, but anybody around. If you are a man and you see a violation against a woman and you refuse to report it, tomorrow it may be your daughter, tomorrow it may be your mother. So if you don't report it so that it can be handled, that's when people just go on doing things because nobody has held them to account. If you are not held to account, impunity comes into place. People just do it because knowing that nothing will be done to them at the end of the day. So we keep encouraging survivors and and the society as a whole. If you see something, please report it. Please help the people, the survivors and the survivors themselves. We keep telling them, report it. The evil, of maybe sexual molestations and all that on you as a person or on the other person, it's a lifetime issue. You live with it for the rest of your life. Even those that have been able to pick up their lives, it's never the same anymore because something has gone wrong psychologically, physically. Some of them end up, we all know,
suicide and all that.
Suicidal, and it's so many things happen. So the evil that these violations bring, it's something that we must bring out, expose it.
Talking about bringing it out and exposing it, I am worried about how much exposure we can give to this, and it leads me to my question again, but this time to the DG. If really we can eliminate this gender-based violence we're talking about, because like we already mentioned, more women are suffering from this, and it's a good thing that the men are beginning to come out. So maybe with time we'll get to see if it's actually the women who are actually being more violated or the men. But for now, it's the women, and statistics are there to prove that. But you see, I'm concerned because even amongst women, will I say that we have two groups? There's a group of women, if you like, elderly women, who may not really think that what a woman is going through is violence and should be reported. Let's just quickly take a look at what happened in Ogubulu local government area in Rivers State some few days ago. I'm sure you saw that. It was everywhere on the internet where some girls were being shown naked to men to prove that they are virgins. And if you go to that community, I've done my research, it is the women who push for such things to happen. If a young woman, for example, is experiencing violence, say maybe from her husband or from a man or from anywhere, and she goes to tell her mother, it's her mother who will tell her, don't say it outside. Or if she's married, it's her mother that will say, oh, stay there. That was how I stayed in my own husband's house. So the question is, do you really think that even as women, we are united in this cause to end this violence?
Yes, thank you very much. Here's the campaign. Here's the campaign to to campaign for I mean the campaign fight to stop to prevent violence against women. You know, we are coming from somewhere. Where we are coming from 30 years ago or 50 years ago, 20 years ago to where we are now, it's not the same. Society is not the same. In those days, what obtained in those days does not obtain now. So people still think that because of the stigmatization, you should not speak out, or the society will stigmatize you, and it's something shameful, or so many things associated with such acts. That is why they feel that you should not be. The women are trying to protect their daughters from being stigmatized by society. That's the only reason. But this is where the media comes in. The media and this campaign that we are doing. When the campaign against violence against women reaches the grassroots, they will now know that yes, it is a global thing that you should speak out. Some in the villages don't know. That is why we're taking the campaigns up to the grassroots level. Because you don't know. But when during the campaign, we tell them to speak out. We tell the victims to speak out. And it's only when you speak out that you will get assistance or support. Even you'll be treated. If not, you say you will not speak out, you will die in silence, and it may affect your health. So our women are trying to just protect that aspect of stigmatization. But if we campaign against, if you go out and campaign and sensitize people not to stigmatize, that stigmatization aspect is taken away. I'm sure people will be able to speak out, and mothers will open up when cases arise.
See, no, sorry, talking about the stigmatization, you see, it's the same women who will stigmatize another woman when you speak up. The men don't really have an issue if a girl has been raped, or if she has an issue with domestic violence, maybe in her marriage, or maybe she's been molested at her workplace. I mean, men don't really. It is women who would still stigmatize another woman for speaking up.
So look at it. If as like government structures now, or like the Human Rights Commission, the women, when we go out to campaign, it's not just to talk, say, speak out. We go with some kind of support. If somebody is stigmatized, or is violated, and the person is not able to pick up her life, now we now encourage her to pick up her life. She's treated, taken back to school, she's educated, and all these things. And this is where these women will begin to understand that it is not the end of life. And all these women that are stigmatizing or trying to expose each other, when they see that after all, if something happens to you by accident, it's not the end of your life, you have pick up your life. So government has to come in this aspect to make sure that those that are violated in one way or the other, they make packages for they help them pick up their life, so that those women that don't see goodness in somebody that is violated as if it's the end of the life, if they see somebody picking up, they will now begin to understand. So a lot of campaign has to go into the society from top to bottom. And
all right, okay, thank you very much, madam, for that. Let me bring in Professor Nyomi into this discussion once again. We're talking about these cultural norms and beliefs now, how to change the narrative, because there is need, because if we don't change the mindset of the people, we are not going anywhere. We are not going to get anywhere. So, and you talked about the fact that the churches, the traditional rulers, the community leaders, everybody needs to be brought into this campaign. So how do you intend to do that? Are you already, engaging the religious leaders, the traditional rulers in this your campaign? Because we need to change the narrative.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think attitudinal change is not only religious, like I said, foundation matters.
Yeah.
If we look at the previous years that we have been living, you discover that parents were training children in a better form than now. Why I say so is that we are somehow...
But is this same parents, like she said,
yes, I understand.
Will tell that, don't say it outside though. They have molested. No. Because of the stigma.
Yes, the shame and the stigma. But we have to still continue to educate them. You should discover that what has been practiced is not what is in vogue now. Before, even if your child is pregnant, everybody will not know all these things. But you see, Acceptance is coming in gradually. If the parent tell their child that you are not the first to start and you are not the last, and it is not your fault, you understand? If we tell the parent that if it is not deliberate, that the lady, because there are instances that also the child may be part of it, not completely part of it, but may be part of it. But when the child is completely out of it, if the parent discover that this is a mistake, you understand? And we are forgetting that even to correct neighbors' children these days is difficult. We have to just go back to our root. The traditional ruler should also take it that these children are for the community. And if the young ones didn't come up in a better form, it is going to affect the whole town. The churches also, every aspect of human being and the mosques, they have them in these places. They can bring out this discussion. And you see, a mountain cannot be climbed a day or cannot be destroyed a day. It's a gradual process.
Yeah.
Maybe some years back we are not talking about such thing on NT. But today we are talking about it because we are becoming aware. We want people to also be aware. We can do jingles, we can do
all right, talking
education.
about awareness, Professor Grace, you know, you talked about what the National Human Rights Commission is doing, you know, but I'd like to find out what really would you say is the problem? Because when a woman is a victim, or whoever is a victim, most times the blame is on you who is the victim. If a girl is raped, they'll tell you you are not properly dressed. If a woman gets beaten, they'll tell you, oh, you were disrespectful. I mean, it's your fault for whatever kind of violence that you get to face. What do we really need to do? Because, you know, in the past, we agreed that, yes, you know, this violence have always existed, but not in the forms that we see these days. It's taking a different dimension. What went wrong, and how can we get it right?
Honestly, it's something that we've been pondering on. What went wrong? But I mean, it's not, the answer is not far-fetched. You know, economy. You know, the downturn in the economy has affected a lot of homes and families and individuals, which has, you know, led people to, you know, people get angry easily, you know, and when they get angry, what they do with that anger, you know, is left to the imagination. Some of them take it out on their women, their wives, take it out on their children, and so on and so forth. And then the rise in violence in the country, you know, there's pockets of violence here and there. The northeast, where the bandits have taken over, Boko Haram and all that. There's so many crises. And if you look at the statistics, most of the sexual violence and violence generally against women, a lot of it is coming from there because of the war, the crisis going on there. You know, of course, when there's crisis, there are all sorts of things that come with it. You know, and one of the main issues is this gender-based violence. Women are being sold into slavery. In those places, women are violated. Women have to sell their bodies for food in the camps. In the northeast, so many things going on there, you know, that we need to address. So there are some of these triggers, you know, like I said, the violations, and then the economy, and it's so many societal issues. But what you said about women being blamed, or you know, when it happens, you know, I know it's very common. But I keep telling people that it's a thing of the mind. It's not the woman that should be blamed, but the person that perpetrated the violence against the woman. It's a thing of the mind. Have you heard of a 6-month-old child being violated? What was the dressing? How was the child dressed? In Pampers? So you just know that it's not what the woman has done, but that some people's minds are just wayward. You know, they're just wayward, and they don't know what to do with their mindset. They are just criminals in nature, and you know, that's why these people must, you know, we must deal with them. The law must come into place and deal with this kind of people. And then, you know, when we talk about women not encouraging others to report because of stigma, you know, when you look at our society, there is no social support for such girls. For example, if a girl, you know that rape by fathers is becoming very common now
True.
in our society, and the mother is there, she knows it, she sees it, and she tells her daughter not to talk. Because the girl is scared. If I tell them what happens to me, I may have to be asked to leave home, and then my father stops paying my school fees. My father, in fact, they threaten the children. I will stop paying your school fees, I'll stop buying things for you, and all that. If we had a social support, the government had social support, and a very coordinated social support for these children, it's very easy. I'll speak. And then I know that if I leave the home or he stops taking care of me, the government can take care of me. There are probably enough shelters in the country to take care of such children. So they're able to speak out. Women can speak out. If your husband is the spousal rape as well, all these violations, if I can stay, I can live on my own. I'm economically empowered. Women that are economically empowered, when such nonsense starts happening in their homes, they leave, because they know that they can take care of themselves. But those ones that are not economically empowered, you have 6 children, the man is molesting, the man is violating you, you begin to think, what will happen to me if I leave this home? With these 6 children, who will take care of them? And then the women just stay there in abusive relationships until it leads to, probably they become victims, and they are dead,
okay,
because they cannot report.
Okay.
There's no support for them anywhere.
Right.
But we thank God that government, like Hajia here, the Women's Center, they're beginning to have this empowerment programs for women. There are a few organizations that have shelter where you take victims to. For example, if you come to my office now and report, at least we have some shelters that we can keep you for the meantime before we handle the issues. And then if you're able to reconcile back, probably fine. Okay. If not, the government has some kind of thing, but we need to strengthen those mechanisms.
Thank you very much, Pam, for your thought there. You raised 2 major vital points there. The issue of weak legal framework to deal with the violators, and also the issue of support. And let me bring in Professor Awawu into the conversation. So how do we begin to strengthen our legal framework to be able to deal with the violators, actually? Because most of the time they seem to go scot-free. Except maybe 1 or 2 cases that we have heard that we were able to, see to the end, like what happened. One of actors in Lagos that was jailed as a result of violating, a young girl. So, but our legal framework, how do we begin to strengthen it to be able to check these activities of the violators?
Thank you for your question. You see, as we speak, a lot of states in Nigeria have started domesticating the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which is the VAP law, and it's being used. What we will want to request is that prosecutors begin to use the VAP law in the process of prosecution. That would go a long way in helping in reducing the tide. You see, with the VAP law, even people who watch and don't do anything, there are laws, there are penalties for them. And then by the time we begin to strengthen the use of the VAP law in conjunction with the gender inclusive policies in various states, then we would. But most importantly, there's the need for the family courts to begin to operate. Majority of these cases can be handled in such courts, and then it will be faster, because the delay in prosecution is what is making a lot of people get tired of it, and then they opt out. Then number 2, the issue of strengthening shelters. There are lots of shelters that are springing up. I own a shelter that has been operating, a personal shelter for the center, for my Center for Study and Resolution of Domestic Violence in Kaduna. But we can only keep victims or survivors for only 3 weeks, at the maximum 3 months, to take them away from the scene of violence. Then these centers or these shelters are very vital. If you go to the Western world, you will see that a lot of these shelters exist, and they are being even sponsored by the government. So if you begin to put government agencies together with individually owned agencies, we will begin to be able to take people away. And these shelters, like us, I'll speak for my own shelter, we empower in the short period that survivors are with us. Because like the human rights person said, Pam, it is the fear of the unknown that is making people remain in abusive relationships without saying anything. The fear of the unknown, in the sense that when I leave, if I leave, what becomes of me? Where do I go? What do I eat? Because again, a lot of women, as it were, are not economically independent. And that is why we also hammer again on empowerment. And that's why you find out that skill acquisition in the Mariam Babangida Center, skill acquisition in silos in some of these centers help these women to regain their balance and begin to know that, yes, they need to have some livelihoods for themselves. And that's why we also go to the villages to encourage parents in the villages to empower their women. If your daughter is not going to go to school, give her a skill that would bring in some degree of income for her, so that when she gets married, because when we are talking about these things, we can't continue to talk about it in the elitist side that a lot of us have. Because when we talk about domestic violence, it's not just about, because, okay, she has an education, but she's not working, she doesn't have an education. In the communities, there is this, whether we like it or not, there are still communities who don't believe in the girl child going to school. Once she is 12, get her married. Okay, so what do you do so that when she gets married, she is able to stay afloat? She can earn some money that will help her live her own life, and not having to wait for the oga at the top to bring money for salt and for Maggi and for kuli kuli or geda. Let it be that she also has a source of income. Instead of going to buy the geda, let her be the one producing and selling the geda. So there is the need for us to do a deliberate effort to empower the young ones, whether male or female, to the extent that they have something that can protect them in their hands. Because in most cases, the genesis of this violence is somebody wanting to act out his strength on the other. It is very important for us to note that the judicial system or our criminal system or our legal system needs to begin to utilize these international laws that have been hitherto domesticated in Nigeria and in our various states. For us in Kaduna State, the VAP law has been domesticated. I am yet to see somebody that has been tried and convicted based on the VAP law. So there is the need for we have a lot of lawyers who are into this campaign, like the Kaduna State chairperson of the coalition of CSOs against domestic violence, Barrister Ajao, is a lawyer. So let's begin to see them bring their expertise to bear on the campaign against gender-based violence in general. The conspiracy of silence, I keep emphasizing this at every opportunity I get. This conspiracy of silence, that if you talk, the moment they know you have been raped, you are not.
Many thanks, Prof. Of course, you have hit the nail on the head there, talking about some of the issues really. But we'll continue with the conversation. Let's quickly take a break now. When we come back, the discussion on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence continues. Stay with us.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. No need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids.
Something new is about to hit your imagination of TV. A brand new sundial with StarTime's inbuilt technology. New TV innovation with an inbuilt decoder that connects you to both StarTime's antenna and satellite signal. StarTime Sundial TV, you can enjoy.
Yeah, welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, coming to you on the network service of the NTA. And we are still discussing the issue of gender violence. And we still have our guest in the studio. And let me come back to Professor Nyomi. Yes, I want you to comment on this issue of support. You are the Professor, Director, Center for Gender Affairs, IBB University, Lapai, Niger State. The issue of support is very vital if we need to fight this gender-based violence. I mean, if you listen to what she said and all the contribution also from the professor. So what's your center actually, what kind of support do you give to the victims? And is there enough fund? Another issue is lack of adequate fund for all these centers to be able to provide enough support for the victims. Let us into how you provide support and how you encourage them.
Thank you very much. We start by first educating them on what is gender violence and how to prevent it. Then we also empower them economically so that they will not be dependent. And when you are empowered economically, that means you will be socialized and you'll be meeting people that discuss issues. Then 3, we look at where other organizations are into such programs, human rights, entrepreneurship, and other things like that. Then we send them, there's what we call collaboration. One center cannot take over everything, but when we collaborate with other centers, specifically there are different things that the center do. If it is on gender violence, we take it to organizations that work on such things, and they help us. We come together and help. But the major thing is education. Education. One, know what it is. You understand? They know how to prevent it, and also know how to help others prevent it. I will want to comment that most of these things sometimes also have to do with the issue of drugs. A person that is in a sin cannot just want to go and sometimes molest somebody or harm somebody. So the center also look at the main cause. What is the source? Why should somebody just stand up and start molesting or violating somebody? Is the person insane? What is he taking? What is his background? All these things we have to look at, especially we have students.
So which means that you provide support for both the violator and the victim?
Yes.
Okay.
With education.
With education.
And tell them the consequences. Then ask why. You can't just stand up and do something. Why? And then if we look at what is the source, the source is very important. Are you into drugs? Is it peer pressure? Is it frustration? Is it depression? Why should you just rape somebody or harass somebody? So when we discover that this is where your problem is, that is how we address it.
Okay.
But empowerment is important, education is important, and then maybe sometimes one-to-one counseling. You understand? You have to counsel. And some universities have even facilities that can accommodate people that are raped, to check and to also tell them they are right. and then to remove the stigmatization or the shame. You are not the first person.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, DG, I wanted to speak to, because your own center, to Miriam Babangida Center, is in charge of support and providing. So what kind of support, the type of support that you provide at in your center?
Yes, like I said earlier, we cannot just, we don't have the money to say we're giving money, but we support them we train them.
How do you get your funding?
Yeah, through budget.
Okay.
Yes, but I must tell you that the budget is very, it's not enough. It's very, very inadequate. What we are doing is that, the center we have a lot of skills acquisition, different types that you can feed, according to our interest. We do ICT training. As you know, the world is going ICT now. So we have complete training on ICT from ground level to even degree level. We do it at the center. So anybody interested in ICT can go there. Then we do training on tailoring. We do in catering. You know how viable catering is now. This outdoor catering and so many things. People eat outside and eateries and all this other we have outside. We do even these male-dominated skills that hitherto were not to be done by men. All these POP, we train women in POP, we train women in tiling, electrification, fridge repairs, mechanic, all this we do in the center. But the problem we have is the resources, the budget, the budget is so small that we cannot do much. If we are giving much, definitely sure we will go across all states in Nigeria. But if you look at the budget of Nigeria, the Ministry of Women Affairs is the list that is the ministry that has the least budget. While we are controlling, or we are supposed to touch lives of more than half of Nigerian population. Women are more than half of Nigerian population, but we are the least budgeted for.
But away from the budget, have you tried to get funding from other sources? I mean, NGOs, international organizations.
Yes, international NGOs come in. That one we can do, but they are also limited. They will have very few, like women and all this kind of. They do it, but if you look at the population of women in Nigeria, how much our government needs to show, take the front line before other NGOs come in. You understand? Yes.
All right, talking about solving this problem, looking at all the issues that we have raised so far, the culture of silence, like we have re-echoed, the fear of the unknown, there are so many issues really limiting the fight against gender-based violence, and so maybe prevention would be a better way to look at this issue, because if we can prevent it, I think we'll be able to go a longer way. So I'm just thinking, and then looking at what we have all agreed, and the statistics, the men are mostly the abusers. So what can we do to engage these men, just so we can put an end to this violence?
Not men alone, women can abuse.
Okay. What can we do to stop perpetrators, whether men or women? Mostly men.
Men are abused as well. Yes.
So great. I mean, so what can we do so that we can just get perpetrators to avoid these acts of violence?
Okay, a couple of things. I think number one for me is enlightenment. We have to keep talking. We have to keep enlightening people. We have to keep telling them, if you do this, it is a violation, since some are feigning ignorance. So we have to keep educating them, to know that if you do so and so, it's a violation of the other person's rights. And then number two, for me, the education should cover, from home, to schools, to society. Because, something I often say is that we are very busy in homes training the girls for marriage, making sure, okay, you have to do this as a girl. You have to do this because we're preparing you for your husband's home. Who is training the boy? Who is telling him, this is your own responsibility when you get married to somebody? You know, we just leave the boys. When they come back from school, it starts right from the home. When they come back from school, the boy drops his bag and off to play football or whatever and play. The girl is made to go into the kitchen, help her mom clean the house. The boys are just there. You know, they're not completely irresponsible. Sorry, I'm.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have to say that.
He has issues.
But you know, so this thing starts from the home. We have to start training our boys as well, because they are mostly, like we've said, we've all agreed here that they are the ones that are mostly, you know, violating the rights of the girls or of the women. So we need to tell the men right from home, from the homes, that you have to know how to take care of your wife. You have to know how to take care of a lady. You have to know how to respect a lady for who she is. You know, you just don't think that a lady's place is in the kitchen and in the other room and in the other room. You know, when ladies in other climes, you're talking to a lady that is has a position just as you, and you're telling her that you should have been in the kitchen, and your own people back home that they should be, a lady's place is in the kitchen or in the other room. You know, so this thing is, we have to start educating them right from the home. You know, the boy child has to start respecting his sister as an equal, not a woman. You know, the derogatory term, woman, when people, men are talking, what are women coming there to say? So we have to start doing that right from the home. And then I think that economy plays a very important role, like I said earlier. You know, do you know that statistics has it that almost half of homes in this country and in most African countries are, you know, the women are.
Run it.
Yeah, the women are, you know, running their homes now. So
yeah, it's because there's so much pressure. Because I mean, what advice? Let me just sorry to interject you.
Yeah.
Now, what advice do you give to women who, for instance, their husband used to be the breadwinner, but for one reason or the other, probably lost his job, not being able to provide, and the woman is so much pushy. You know, that pushes the man to the wall and wants to fight back, because you know the men
exactly where I'm going to. Yeah, but okay, following from what you're saying, sorry, the woman should be more understanding, at least, you know, should be more understanding too on the men, you know, when the roles change, you know, because of one situation or the other. You have to be a bit more understanding. But, you know, you also, as a woman, you also want to see that the man is making an effort, you know, not just taking it for granted that, okay, my wife has a good job, so she can take care of the home and I just sit back, lay back. I think from experience and from talking with other women, I know that nothing, you know, makes a woman more, what word will I use now? Not angry, but, you know, annoyed or whatever. Like a man just sitting there, you know, and taking things for granted. Because I know some of the women that have shared their issues with us in the office, you know, the man just wakes up in the morning, does nothing, and just keeps pushing you. When you come back, he's complaining about the food you've given him. You know, I remember, there's so many stories, you know, that one could tell about such things, you know. So as much as I call on the women to be more understanding with the men too, you have to be up to your responsibility. The woman, I don't see any woman seeing a man making the effort. If the effort is not yielding results as it should, you understand he's making the effort.
Okay, thank you, Grace.
So,
thank you very much.
That's and
I have to interject because I want to bring in Professor Howe from the Kaduna there. Professor, I want you to speak to the issue of this gender equality, which, you know, she talked about, which is also very vital in fighting these menace of violence against, you know, women and the girl child. How can we correct the inequality? How can we bridge the gap?
Well, to bridge the gap between men and women, or girl child and boy child, is to begin to imbibe the culture of equity, giving to Caesar what is Caesar and to God what is God. in the sense of when you're training your child, let that child grow up with the sight that he and his sister are siblings with equal respect and equal opportunity. We keep saying equality, equality, and I keep saying equity, equity. Equity begets equality. If you continue to say equality, the feeling that the male folk have is that, oh, they have come, they want to take over. That is not the issue. What we are saying is that as long as you have a girl child and a boy child, these two have equal rights to whatever properties you have. These two have equal rights to the training you give them. These two have equal rights to choose what they want to do and what they want to be. So in most cases, people take priority over the boy child over the girl child. People think that the girl child is just a property that will end up in somebody's other room, as against the fact that there are quality women, as against the fact that the girl child can also be somebody who will make it in life and be able to take care of herself and even her siblings and even the family. So one major thing that we need to begin to work against is the kind of socialization that we give our children. There is the need to socialize our children equally, to take responsibility for their actions and not continue to say that the boy child is superior over the girl child. There's nowhere in the Bible where the girl child or the Quran where the girl child has been placed over the boy child or the boy child placed over the girl child. It usually will be, "O ye who believe." And are we saying that when they say, "Oh, ye who believe," you're talking just about the girl child or just about the boy child? If the Bible is not discriminatory, if the Quran is not discriminatory, and all of us claim to be religious persons, so what are we talking about? Why shouldn't the girl child be given the...
Because of time, I think we'll have to leave the conversation at that point. You have made fantastic points. Many thanks, Professor Hawau Evelyn Yusuf, Special Advisor to the Vice Chancellor on Research, Culture, Kaduna State University, and CEO, Center for Study and Resolution of Domestic Violence. Many thanks for your time. We do sincerely appreciate you, and thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. But we need to round off now, so I'll just quickly get to Professor Naomi. So many things need to change. Listening to Professor Evelyn talk, of course, right to inheritance. Women should also get a part, and it should be equal. The saying that behind every successful man is a woman has to change to beside every successful man. That way, a woman, a man also gets to respect the woman and, not see her as being behind. And then the culture of whether a woman is married or not, being able to lead. We see some workplaces, if a woman is not married, you don't attain certain positions. All those things need to go away if we want to solve this problem. These are the issues, limiting women and also giving the men, the guts, so if you like, the power, to violate a woman. So, in your final words, Professor Naomi, what would be your word of advice to both men and women as we round off, and of course, looking at this celebration?
What I would say is that parents and the society should give man and woman the same position. That everybody, we are all human beings in the first place before we become a male and a female. Then too, we should be able to show example of women that have achieved. We have Dora Okende, we have Okonja Iweala. So parents should know that a girl can be whatever she wants to be, and a girl can support, a woman can support. That's it. Then education, empowerment, counseling, all these things are important. Let everybody know his or her position, that all of us are in the first place human beings before we become boy and girl.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Naomi, for that. Your final thought, DG. Let's hear your final thought. But on the lighter note, there is this. We've heard stories of some women that they enjoy being beaten you know, by their husband. I mean, there's a psychological problem. They enjoy it. They would say, oh, no. I enjoy. There was one particular story that I heard that the husband used to beat the wife a lot. And fortunately and unfortunately, the man died. And the man was buried. After a month, people were expecting the woman to have come out of the mourning stage and all that. And she kept on mourning and mourning and mourning. And somebody went to ask her, what exactly is your problem? This man used to beat you. Why? You should be happy. And I said, I enjoyed the beating. Who is going to be beating me now? So what exactly is the psychological problem, and how do you address such?
Well, this is one case in a million. It's one
in a
case.
billion?
Yes, in a billion, yes. Nobody will enjoy being beaten because the beating can lead to injury and may cause to death, like many that we have seen. So that one must be 1 in a billion. And I must tell you that maybe during their youthful age, when they were new, maybe they are used to fighting or quarreling, so she's used to it. That's why I said it's 1 in a billion. It's not a good.
Because women love to be pampered.
Yes, exactly.
So you pamper them and move on.
So having said that, my thought is that like the theme of this year's 16 days of activism, that we should unite and invest to end gender-based violence. That is my message. We should all put hands together. All hands should be on deck to make sure that our women are empowered. I'm sure if we are all empowered, especially I'm talking to the government must come up with specific, deliberate programs to empower more than half of its population. You see, women are littered everywhere. All this cause of this is due to a lack of empowerment. If women are empowered, I'm sure the society will be better. Of course, the problem
will be solved. Many thanks, Asabe, Velita, Bashir, DG, Mariam Babagida Center for Women Development, and a one-time House of Representatives member. Thank you for joining us on the program. I also like to appreciate Professor Naomi John Dadi Mahmood, Director, Center for Gender Affairs, IBB University. Thank you. We appreciate your thoughts on the program. Grace Pam, Director, Women and Children Department, National Human Rights Commission.
Sorry, can you take your last can you say it in 50 seconds?
Because of time.
Can you say it in 50 seconds?
Non-discrimination against women is all we're asking about.
Okay.
Non-discrimination against women.
Continue to orange the world, women, and I hope that the message will be passed. All right, so that's it. I will also thank Professor Yusuf. Thank you for joining us from Kaduna. So that's it. 16 days of activism is still on. Do your bit. I'm repping the orange color. I'm sure you can see that. So orange your world. I'm Ian Ray John. That's Good Morning Nigeria today. Ademola is itching to orange the world too. I'm sure he will do that tomorrow.
I will try. I'll join you. Don't worry. I'm already in the campaign. No problem about that.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.